Hello again guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are taking a look at the Got Friends Discus 2C. The aircraft released fairly recently over on flightsim.to. There's an option for both a standard freeware variant as well as a premium version of the glider. Today we're actually going to be looking at the freeware version of the aircraft just to get an overall feel for the level of quality the Got Friends have put into the Discus 2C. I had an absolutely cracking time out in the aircraft though, so we'll definitely be taking a look at the payware version of the glider at a later date. Gliding with the Microsoft Flight Simulator was, up until recently, a somewhat hit and miss affair. Technically I believe the sim still doesn't actually support sailplane aircraft. So as much as I do enjoy a good spot of virtual gliding, it's something that I've really rather been putting off in Microsoft Flight Simulator until now. As I say though, really happy that I've finally given it a go. I had a thoroughly enjoyable flight here with the Discus 2C. Gliding may not sound all that glamorous, but it's actually a wonderful way to experience flight both in the real world and in the sim. I have done a little bit of gliding myself in the real world, albeit many years ago now, but I'll try and put those skills to use in today's video. Not looking to review the aircraft here today per se, again we'll just be taking a look at the Discus 2C as we go. We're currently on the ground at the Got Friends Glider Club, and we're going to be taking our sailplane on a tour around the Austrian Alps. We'll be heading up north towards Zell Am See to put the glider through its paces. We'll see how we go, we may end up landing over there, otherwise we'll be returning home later on. I'll actually be using Touching Cloud's Kinetic Assistant for the launch today. We're going to be carrying out an Aerotow up to around 3,000 feet. Worth mentioning that Kinetic Assistant is a payware module, however the free version of the Discus 2C does come with winch launch options as standard. And the premium version of the aircraft comes with a whole host of other launch options as well, but again we'll talk more about that in a future video. As always guys, I do hope you enjoy our flight. It's going to be a really special one today in terms of the scenery. As always, if you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. There's obviously not a whole lot for us to do in terms of getting our Discus ready to fly, so we're going to start our flight out on the runway and ready to commence the takeoff. So we've got ourselves nicely lined up here on the northerly runway. The Robin DR400 is going to be towing us up to around 3,000 feet. Off we go, just using the rudder initially to keep the aircraft straight. We want to keep behind the tow plane as much as possible. Not drifting out too far to either side. Pretty high altitude here, up at around 3,500 feet, so pretty marginal for the little Robin there getting off just before the edge of the runway. And he should continue straight ahead now, just following the contours of the valley. Get the gear up. And you can hear the variometer there just showing we're getting a little bit of lift. Obviously at the moment that's being provided by the tow aircraft. Absolutely stunning scenery here as we make our way out of the valley, and I have to say that Got Friends did a really nice job picking the location for their little glider base. Really beautiful part of the world and really epic place for gliding of course. We'll see how we go in terms of thermals. I haven't got anything specific set up here in the sim. We might be able to get a little bit of ridge lift as we go, but for now we're just going to rely pretty much solely on the tow aircraft here. As I say, he'll take us up to around 3,000 feet. You can see for yourselves exactly why gliding is so awesome in this sim. The scenery is absolutely spectacular. And as you'll see later on, gliding is a really special way of flying as well. Just really serene, really beautiful. No noise, not crammed in like a little Cessna 152 with the engine absolutely deafening you, getting hot. All the gliding I've ever done has been really pleasant, I have to say. Anyway, for now I'm just sticking in behind the tow aircraft, trying to keep as straight as we can with him, and just sitting slightly below him. Ideally we want to keep out of his wake turbulence, although I don't think that's actually currently modelled in the sim. Anyway, we're doing about 120 kilometers an hour here as we climb. And coming up through about 1.2 kilometers on the altitude. So the tow plane should just continue down the valley. We'll be tracking out towards the west in a moment's time. Plenty of nice little features on the aircraft. For example, if we come down here and click at the pilot's logbook, we can change up the menu functionality there. Obviously we've already launched, so we'll click that again. That'll bring up the GPS for us. As I mentioned, the plan here really, we're just going to head out towards Zell Am See. And depending on how we go there, we'll either just do an orbit around the field, or we might even make our way back towards home base thereafter. It's a fairly sizable flight here though in the glider for the amount of time I'm looking to dedicate to the video today, so we'll probably just make a landing at Zell Am See itself. Get our cockpit lighting on here. It's a little bit dark outside still fairly early morning here, but beautiful weather, beautiful soaring conditions. Just coming up on 1.35 kilometers in terms of our altitude. And still edging our way skywards here. The little Robin, as I said, struggling a little bit for climb performance here up at altitude. Stunning view though. And again, what a serene way to fly in such a beautiful part of the world. I'm sure it's spectacular to live in this area as well. So we better keep an eye on what we're doing here. Just get ourselves back in behind the tow plane. So Zell Am See itself, somewhere off at our 10 o'clock position, just the other side of the hills. You can actually just make it out there on the left of the nav display. Salzburg somewhere out to the north in the distance. And for those who remember, I did actually do a route quite some time ago now in the Flying Iron P38 from Salzburg down to Zell Am See. That was a pretty special flight. As is this one, I have to say, one of my more memorable experiences in the sim to date actually. And I really can't recommend picking up the Got Friends Discus highly enough. It's a really excellent aircraft. Not really planning on a review per se today, but we'll obviously discuss the aircraft a little bit here as we go. Currently using the freeware version, as I probably mentioned during the introduction, but definitely planning on picking up the payware version as well. I thought it would just be interesting to take a look at the freeware version first, get a feel for the functionality. And using Kinetic Assistant, there's not a whole lot of benefit in some respects to getting the payware version. One of the main benefits of the payware version is you do get an electric engine on the glider for not actually self-launching per se, but obviously you can use that to extend your cruise distance and endurance. Nonetheless, again, I think the aircraft is such a wonderful thing to have in Microsoft Flight Simulator and very reasonably priced, so I think it's highly worth trying to reward Got Friends for their efforts. Anyway, that should just about do us, so we'll cut the tow.
Relief 2,400.
Okay, so we're up through 2,400 feet. And we're just going to trim for around 108 knots here in the glide. There's the tow plane, we'll keep a good eye on him. Sun coming up out towards the east there, again, just stunning scenery. So we are clear of the tow plane, he's continuing the climb. We'll head out towards the west. There's a couple of really nice things about flying gliders. Firstly, as I said, it's a very serene experience. Secondly, it teaches you an awful lot about balancing the aircraft. You can see that little piece of string there off the canopy. That's effectively a very crude but efficient turn and slip indicator. We can use that to help us balance the aircraft. You can see if we unbalance the aircraft there, the string will deviate from the centre. So again, gliders really good for helping you fly the aircraft in a balanced fashion. They're also excellent for teaching energy management. Of course, you've really got to watch your altitude, make sure you do have enough energy in hand to get home, otherwise it's going to be a pretty long day landing in some poor old farmer's field. There's a really good fun way of flying, definitely nice little challenge, and again, just a really serene, quiet, pleasant way of going about your work in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Another nice little feature I discovered on the aircraft, we do actually have a little cheat sheet here. I just need to click a little bit lower there. You can see that gives us all the basics that we need there. It's got the max speed, rough airspeed, manoeuvring speed, as well as Aerotow and winch launch. There's a couple of do's and don'ts as well. Just keeping an eye here on our heading, making sure we're not heading out towards the hills. We can just follow the river for now. Again, if you look at the nav display there, we basically just follow the river all the way in towards the lake, which is just out to the northeast of Zell Am See. Interestingly, the do's and the don'ts there, I had noticed for some reason spawning on the apron actually has you rolling down the hill pretty quickly at the Got Friends base. I presume that's probably going to be cleaned up at some point. But again, a really nice little airfield there, and it's all freeware. I can't really sing their praises highly enough for the effort that they've clearly put into the product. It's absolutely excellent. And it's one of those products, once again, it's completely freeware. If you want to pick up the payware version, it's only $15, and it puts a lot of much more expensive payware aircraft to shame, frankly. So really excellent to see, again, these smaller community developers, I believe in this case, just coming up to the top of their game and really, as I've said before now, showing the big boys how it's done. Anyway, it doesn't look like we're having too much joy finding any lift en route here, but not really expecting to. We're a bit too far away from the hills here to get any ridge lift. Not really going to attempt that today. I think we'll try that another day. And as I said, as far as thermals go, I think you do have to manually insert them into the sim, generally speaking, at the moment, which I haven't done here. But I did feel like we're just getting a tiny bit of lift there. Although very quickly coming into some more significant sink, so we might have been able to orbit there and get a little bit of lift, but didn't seem to be too much in it. Anyway, you can probably see the field now at Zell Am See. We're not going to have enough altitude in hand here to make it back home, and at any rate it'd be getting a bit long in the tooth for a flight, I think, so instead we'll head out towards the airfield. We'll do a quick lap around the field, I think, and then come back in for a landing out to the west. In terms of wind, there shouldn't be much around. We'll have a look at the windsock, see what it's doing. If it's a significant wind, then we might come in from the east. It's actually a little bit easier coming in from the east anyway. You can see there's no terrain on the easterly approach. Anyway, obviously I've been nattering my way through the flight, but as you can see for yourselves, just so peaceful. This part of the world has to have some of the most beautiful scenery in and around Switzerland and Austria. Never been to Austria myself, but been to Switzerland a couple of times, and it's like a postcard. It's absolutely beautiful. The hills are really emerald green. You've got the snow in the winter. All of the lakes are completely azure blue. It's a really stunning country. And the sim does a really nice job of replicating it overall. You really do get a good feel for what it looks like in reality. All of the little chalet style houses all perched up on the side of the hills with the roads winding their way up. Anyway, the aircraft's a complete joy to fly, very stable, as you'd expect, at least in clean air. And maintaining the speed very nicely here. We've got ourselves trimmed just above 108 knots at the moment, doing about 110. We've got some ballast on board as well, for those who, again, aren't all that familiar with gliding. Ballast helps you fly a little bit faster, but of course you're a heavier aircraft then, so you're not gliding as efficiently. But we've kept the ballast on today just to get us over to Zell Am See a little bit quicker. We'll have to dump that though before landing. Again, if you look at our little cheat sheet down the back, you'll see one of the don'ts is landing with ballast in the water tanks, so we'll try and avoid doing that. So just coming up on the lake, I mentioned that was out to the northeast of Zell Am See itself. Just coming up on 1400 metres. We've got a little bit of lift there, just coming off the ridge by the looks of things. So we'll just do a little bit of an orbit here, see if we can't stay in that. Fortunately, it's not a whole lot of lift here, I don't think, so our manoeuvring's pretty much killing any benefit of staying in it. There is a little bit. We could probably stay in this and get a little bit more altitude. Maybe even enough to make it back towards the Got Friends glider base there, but I think we'll stick with the original plan. Actually, some pretty decent lift here, as you can see. Yeah, we could definitely orbit in that and pick up some decent altitude there, but I think we'll land at Zell Am See just for a little bit of a change of scenery. And again, just to keep the flight time down a little bit here. Hopefully you can see the runway quite clearly now, as I say, east-westerly runway. And what we could do here is dive bomb the field. Used to see quite a few gliders doing that on their return home. So we'll head along the runway, we'll dump our water, our ballast as we go. Controls just down there on the right. So we'll hit the ballast control there. We've probably got enough speed and energy in hand here as well to actually make a loop, so we'll do that. Just making sure we keep below V&E. Excellent sounds from the aircraft there. You can hear that change in wind noise there. So coming back on the stick. And over the top of the loop. Beautiful flight model. So smooth on the controls. Anyway, we don't want to lose too much altitude here. We'll just come back round on ourselves again, taking a look at that windsock. Be interesting to see as well whether or not... Sure enough, we do actually have visual water being dumped there as well. That's really excellent. Let's keep an eye on our airspeed. And look at the windsock there. It does look like the wind is coming out from the east, so we'll land towards the east. We've got a very short grass runway there, but that's pretty tight. But what the hey, we'll take the challenge there. We'll head out towards the southerly runway. So we'll just come in for a bit of a left-hand downwind. Looks like we're still dumping our ballast here at the moment, so we'll track outbound, give ourselves a little bit of time to do that. Honestly, I'm not really in a hurry to get the aircraft down on the ground here, having such great fun. But as I say, once we reduce that ballast, our glide performance is going to increase. I can imagine this would be great fun with friends as well, if you wanted to do a bit of cruising around the area. Just going to make another left turn here to see if we're still dumping our ballast. And looks like we finished up there now, so we'll close up the ballast valve again. And we'll just continue to track slightly further outbound, and we'll come back in for a nice long downwind. One thing I haven't done here, I know we're supposed to assign an axis to the spoilers, hoping that my keybind still works there, which it does, so we're not going to be completely stuck here, otherwise we'll be orbiting for quite some time. You can assign an axis as well, but I've always just preferred to have a switch. Find myself running out of controls otherwise. As we're looking to lose some altitude here now, I'll take the gear down again. And we'll start our turn back inbound towards the field. Again, really important to make sure you do keep a little bit of energy in hand here. Last thing you want to be doing is finding yourself low and slow on final approach. But it's reasonably easy if you do keep a little bit of energy in hand to manage the approach just with the spoilers. So again, aiming for that southerly grass strip. Pretty short, but I think we'll be okay. Got full speed brake here at the moment. We're just going to keep that for now. We are a little bit high, and again, we want to keep a reasonable profile here. As I say, we do want to keep a bit of energy in hand, but certainly we don't want to overshoot the runway either. Find ourselves running out of energy at the other side of the airfield. So coming over what looks to be a golf course currently. And that sun getting ever higher here on the horizon. I'd say we're still a little bit high here at the moment, so we're going to sidestep the aircraft. For those who aren't familiar with that, we're basically crossing the controls at the moment, so we've got right rudder, left aileron, so we're keeping the aircraft tracking straight, but as you can see from that piece of string again, we're actually out of balance, so we're basically presenting more of the aircraft airframe into the airflow, which is creating more drag, which means we can have a higher descent rate here. So looking a bit more reasonable now in terms of profile. She's just going to keep side slipping for the moment. So once again, just confirming we do have the gear down. And you can see we've got a couple of gliders there just coming off the left of the nose. Okay, looking a little bit better now in terms of profile. We're just going to get rid of the speed brakes momentarily. And trimming for speed. And once again onto the speed brakes. Just holding the discus off. And we're down. So there you go, guys. I do hope you enjoyed our outing in the Got Friends Discus 2C. Quite clear there that I did. I thought that was an absolutely brilliant flight overall. Really looking forward to doing some more virtual gliding in the future. As I mentioned, today we were looking at the freeware version of the aircraft, which I really can't recommend highly enough. It's well worth going and checking out for yourselves. I think it's pretty clear in its own right that it's a stunning rendition of the Discus 2C and a really high quality offering. Once again, Got Friends do also offer a premium payware version of the aircraft, and that has a whole list of additional features. For example, it comes with the front electric sustainer motor, which we talked about during flight. That's basically an electric engine which you can start up in flight to increase your range and endurance. The premium version also offers a built-in multiplayer and AI towing system. We obviously used Kinetic Assistant there today for the Aerotow. You'll also get a visual winch cable and launch vehicle, as well as additional liveries, additional cockpit customization, clear or tinted canopies, as well as a modelled onboard oxygen system. Lastly, and I think a really nice feature, I think it always ramps up the immersion, there's also the option with the premium version of the aircraft to visually display the pilot model within the cockpit. Once again, the premium version of the aircraft is retailing over on flightsim.to at $15 US. I know I'll certainly be picking it up, and again, I think that Got Friends certainly deserve all of our support for creating such a wonderful effort in the sim, and again for offering it essentially as freeware as well. I've said it many times now, but it is really great to see these smaller developers coming out with some absolutely cracking products at some very reasonable prices. Microsoft Flight Simulator does get a lot of flack for having some pretty low quality products out there and often trying to rip people off in terms of pricing. That certainly can be true, but I think it's fair to say that there are just as many decent developers out there, such as the likes of Got Friends, FS Reborn, Flight Effects, developers of that nature who are really putting in the work and really going to enhance the whole Microsoft Flight Simulator experience. As I say, I'll definitely be picking up the payware version of the aircraft myself. I think that Got Friends deserve every penny for that one. And once I've done so, no doubt we'll be coming back for some more virtual gliding in a future video. Once again, guys, I do hope you enjoyed the flight. If you did, please consider giving the video a like. If you want to see more content from the channel, then please consider subscribing as well. As ever, a very big thank you to my channel members and patrons for all of your support. It's very much appreciated. I do hope that all of you are having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.